right, so one thing I noticed right at the bat, if you look down here, it says unknown identifier restart button text. The variable, I named it restart button, but down here I wrote restart button text. It should just be restart button. So go ahead and do that, and then I'm just going to save it, Command S, click back in here. Hopefully this error goes away. Thank you. And we are good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this game controller script and go ahead and throw it on the game controller. And really that's the only thing that game controller really needs to do is hold that script. Whoops, apparently I already did that once. So I'm going to go ahead and just right click on it, remove copy. So I only need one. All right. Oh, because I did it as add component, that's why. I'm going to open up Canvas here, and I'm going to click back on, we'll do this too. No, that's good. Okay, so I need the P score, and so that's player score. That's going to go there. You see it needs a text element, enemy score. Put that on this one. It says boundary left. So I actually got well, it needs restart button too. I'll go ahead and put restart button on there. Good. And I'm going to open up the boundary groups, and so I need boundary left, right, and I need boundary right. All right, good. Okay. And so that should all be good. Now, right now, if I were to hit play, it's actually not going to work. And the reason why is that if you looked at the script, where are you? There it is. What it does right now is it actually, so it has function display score, it has function endgame, and it has function start and function update, which I don't believe I need. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to go ahead and remove those. I'll just save that. But basically, these aren't going to run unless they're called to run, okay? So if you look at this, it needs to be called. And what we did is that there's nothing to call it right now. What I need to have happen is this. I need that when this ball hits this wall, hits basically this right boundary or this left boundary, that it's going to go, hey, call this script. Right now, that's not what it's doing. So what I'm going to do is on the ball script right here, I need to add a bit of code that says when you make contact with one of these boundaries, call that specific function, that display score function. Okay. All right. So I'm actually going to open up the ball script by double clicking on it, and I'm going to add a bit in here that's going to do that. Okay. So this is going to be a little bit different than some of the other stuff we've written, but it will work better. So I just got to find where I put that. All right, so, okay. Yeah, there we go. So what we're going to do is on, okay, that's function update. Let's delete that. Okay, just compress this a little bit. All right, we're going to add another one. This is a built-in one, but it doesn't come automatically, and it's just called function on collision enter, okay? So it means when something collides with it, this function gets called, okay? So, like, for instance, start automatically starts. Like, that's, as soon as the game starts, that function happens. Update gets updated every frame, okay? Every gameplay frame. All right, so that's kind of the difference. All right, but on function on collision enter, we're actually going to store what it collides with. So that's actually going to be col, and this could be anything. I'm just calling it col info for collision info. And the type that it is, is a collision, okay? So it's going to store the information in there, all right? And then I can use that to tell the other thing what I want to happen, okay? So now what I'm going to have it do is I'm going to say if, okay, if col info, and I put too many L's in there, if col info dot collider, okay, dot tag is equal to player. So if it hits the player, all right. So if that's true, if that's what it hits, I want to do this. I want it to get component. Come on, terrible at this. Get component dot rigid body. All right. Get component dot rigid body. I need some parentheses. Dot. So this is like a bunch of math and stuff that I had just found. Dot y is equal to get component let's see, rigid body dot get component yeah, dot, oh, sorry. No, yeah, that's right. Dot this rigid body, boom, things, dot velocity dot y divided by 2, okay, plus col info dot collider dot get component dot rigid body parentheses dot velocity dot y divided by 3. Basically what it's going to do is that when it comes and it hits it at an angle using the y velocity, it's gonna find the difference and make it partly halfway between the original and a new speed of however it hit it. It's a lot of code that doesn't really, but that's what it is. I'm sure there's probably spelling errors and all sorts of stuff. Good component velocity dot y divided by 2. Well, we'll see how it goes. Okay, so if it's the player, it's going to do that. All right. Now we're going to do one that's for if it's hitting one of the collisions. Okay, so now we're going to say if the info is if it's the collider dot tag that it hits, if that is a score boundary, and I'm actually going to copy this because we're going to need this in a second. So Command C. All right. If it's a score boundary, and I'll show you what the tags are in a second. I want it to do this bit of code. Okay. All right. And basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call that game controller dot display score. Remember that was that code bit that we wrote before, and I'm going to send it true. I'm going to send it a Boolean of true, okay? And that's what's going to go in when we did that other bit there. Okay. Now, else, it's going to be the opposite. So I'm just going to copy this. Command C, Command V, and this one's going to be, oops. And we don't need to have any of this because you're just going to have to assume. See, it seems like else would be a bad idea. Yeah, okay. Else, we're going to have it send, yeah, else, and we're going to have it send false instead, okay? False. All right. And that's good. Let's see. Okay, so these are actually supposed to be nested inside of each other, one of these. All right, hang on one second. Okay, actually I did kind of do that wrong. So we're going to take this. So it's going to say if it's a score boundary, then what I want it to do is, so if it says it's a score boundary, first thing I want to do is then say if the transform dot position dot x, so that would be of the current thing, which would be the ball. So if the ball is less than 0, which means it's in the negative direction, okay, if that is the case, then it's going to send display score true. That's why this code didn't make sense to me. Okay, else it's going to send it, and we'll just have this in, send it this, and then after that would be this, and that makes more sense. Okay, so basically what it's going to do is going to say, okay, if it hits a player, it's going to adjust the way that it angles and hits off. If it hits a score boundary, it's going to say, okay, if the position is less than 0, meaning that it's in the negative, then it's going to send a positive hit to the game controller, and if it's the other, then it's going to be a negative. Now right now I have game controller. I didn't actually make a variable game controller for it to know where to send that to, so we got to make that too. So game controller, and that's just going to be a game object. Okay, game object. All right, and that way that should work. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, not variable. Variable game controller, and then it's just game controller again, because we're actually looking for the script specifically. Game controller, game controller. All right. And that should be good. I'm going to save it. I'm going to click in here. And it's going to say expecting blah, blah, blah. Found that. Okay, so that is 56 and 141. All right, so let's look at 56. Boom, rigid body. So 56, and then it's pretty far down. Oh, see, missed it right here. All right. Oh, come on. All right. Okay, let's save that again. Let's click back in here. Hope for the best. Okay. All right. So, game controller. Blah 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 blah. So I need the ball, and I need to drop and drag, and that's not working. All right. Let me see. So that script is not showing up the piece I was looking for. Okay. So it says not a valid type, not found. Did you mean blah blah blah? Okay. So obviously I wrote something wrong in here. Game controller dot display. Okay, so it's talking about this game controller, and then variable game controller, and then blah 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 game controller. That should be right. All right, so I had a couple of errors. When I typed this over here, I accidentally had I can't remember. Thank you. Can't remember exactly where it was, but one of these accidentally had an R in here, so I had to remove that. It should have been just column info. The other thing I did too, which I'm an idiot, is that I wrote game controller, but it should have been game controller script, because that's the thing I'm actually trying to make contact with. So this is actually supposed to be game controller script, game controller script. That way it knows where it is, because that's the thing I'm actually trying to interact with, which means that down here I had to change it from just game controller dot display score to game controller script dot display score, because display score is a method of this script that we made. Not just game controller. So that was the reason why that wasn't working. So just make sure you change it from game controller to game controller script. All right, so then just save that, minimize it, and then I'm going to go to the ball here, and then I'm going to go from game controller and drop that into here, and it should hopefully work. Okay, so I'm going to let it go ahead and score on me here, so that, and it's not, oh, so it's not going to work right off the bat, because one of the things that it needs, which we didn't do yet, is that when it collides, it's going to test to see what it's hitting, and it's doing it based off of the tags, okay? So what I need to do is that the player has no tag, and it's just a way of like, it's another way of just, it's like grouping things in a sense. So it says, okay, all of these things have a tag of enemy, so anything that is enemy, when you shoot it, it gets hurt, things like that. So what I'm going to do is my boundary here, my right and left one, I need to add that boundary in there. So I'm going to do add tag, because we're going to make a custom one. It comes with some, but we're going to do a custom one. And I'm just going to plus, and then, you remember, I'm just going to Command V to paste it. Nah, crap, I took that off apparently. Okay, let's hit plus again. So it was score boundary. All right, and enter, and good. And now I'm going to go back up here, and I'm just going to make sure score boundary. I'm going to go on the left one too. Even though you make it on that thing, it doesn't actually assign it. Let's go ahead and save this, Command S in general. And then let's see if I move out of the way, if this will work better. All right, come on. And there you go. See, it scored. So what I'm going to do is going to try and make it. All right, I wasn't really trying to. Crap. All right, I am going to. I don't want to waste time, so I'm going to pause it for a second while I let it beat me. If I can. I'm just too good at this game. I just want to get it behind my paddle here. This is the best I've ever played, and I'm trying to lose. Okay. There we go. So it should run score up. You can see it says restart, hit restart, and then it will restart, which is pretty awesome. Okay, and that's the game. So we did it. Yay! Now what you want to do from here, I'm just going to pause or turn that back off, is make sure you save it, and then you just would want to build it. So you just go to File, go Build Settings. Now, depending on what you're trying to build this for, most of the time it's just going to be Mac, PC, Mac, or whatever. You would just go, make sure you're on the right OS. You add current, which means the current scene. Because what you do is just like you would build a video, you would have scene after scene after scene, and you would build it, and then you would just hit build. You can hit player settings, which brings this over here, and then if you need to deal with resolution, you can actually change the resolution of the screen here, the default, which is particularly useful for like if you're doing web, because sometimes you want that frame to be a certain way. So you would just click on that, and you hit build. It's going to bring up a window. It's going to ask where you want to save it to. We'll just say paddle game, hit save. Actually, I named it untitled, which is not the thing to name it. And then it's going to build it, and then when it's done, it'll pop open in a window, and then you can play it, which is pretty cool. So I'll just double click on it. It'll ask a bunch of stuff, and then let's say made with Unity. Hopefully this video doesn't cut out just before it gets there. All right, and then we have our game, and that's it. Yay!